At Forward Operating Base Thunder, that cold January morning, the hand reaching for Staff Sergeant Victoria Viper Thompson's M24 sniper rifle was about to make the biggest mistake of a 30-year military career. "Put that weapon down, soldier. This is man's work," came the voice of Major General Robert Hayes, his chest heavy with ribbons and his confidence heavier still. But he was touching the wrong woman's rifle at the wrong time. The briefing room fell silent like a tomb. 43 operators watched as tension crackled through the air thick enough to cut with a knife. This wasn't just about a rifle. This was about respect, expertise, and the thin line between authority and arrogance. Victoria Thompson had earned her place the hard way. Born and raised in Montana, taught by her grandfather Henry Thompson, a Vietnam veteran who showed her that patience beats bravado every single time. By 9 years old, she could read wind patterns better than weather forecasters. By 16, she'd won the state shooting championship 3 years running, never missing a shot that mattered. Military Academy graduate with honors. Ranger School honor graduate, one of only 12 women to complete the program that year. 3 combat deployments across Afghanistan and Iraq. Holder of the confirmed kill record at 1,847 meters, a shot that took out a Taliban commander planning an attack on a coalition convoy. But Major General Hayes didn't care about records. He led the inspection team from the Pentagon, questioning women's roles in combat units. He believed in what he called merit over politics, though his version of merit seemed to have a gender requirement attached to it. As he reached for Victoria's M24, dismissing her presence entirely, he announced this operation needed real shooters, not diversity quotas filling slots that should go to qualified soldiers. Master Sergeant Jonathan Mitchell from the Rangers tried to intervene, his voice steady but firm. "Sir, Staff Sergeant Thompson holds the theater distance record. She's covered our last 6 operations with 0 friendly casualties." Hayes waved him off like swatting a fly. "I've been shooting since Annapolis, Sergeant. I understand precision better than some enlisted soldier playing with equipment beyond her capability." That's when he made his second mistake. He reached for the Barrett, saying he'd personally verify if it had been maintained properly. In the sniper community, you don't touch another shooter's weapon. Everyone in that room knew it. A rifle is zeroed to one person, her eye relief, her cheek weld, the rhythm of her breathing, the inevitability of her trigger pull. It's a handshake that only fits 2 hands, the shooter's and the mission's. Chief Patrick Davis from the SEALs put in a word. "Sir, Viper has provided overwatch for our last 3 high-value target operations. Her precision saved American lives." Hayes laughed like he was shooing away an annoying insect. "I'll show you real marksmanship if this sergeant can't handle the pressure." Victoria didn't flinch. Inside, she heard her grandfather's voice, the one that had outlasted snow, politics, and doubt, saying, "Don't let them see you break, Vicky. Let your rifle do the talking." She thought about the officers who had questioned if she'd truly earned her slot, the after-action reports that credited her perfect shots to fortunate timing, the ambush in Afghanistan where she eliminated 6 fighters in 8 seconds, only to see her name reduced to a footnote in someone else's heroic narrative. But this morning wasn't about grievances. This was about consequences. Overwatch isn't just a line item on an operation order. It's the thin thread that keeps a raid from turning into a memorial service. "General," Victoria's voice cut through the tension, steady as her aim. "Choose 5 targets, any distance you want. If I miss even 1 shot, I'll accept whatever discipline you order, court-martial included. But if I hit all 5, I run overwatch for this mission. No interference." Pride is a dangerous thing, and Hayes had 30 years' worth of it. He agreed, convinced he was about to teach a lesson about knowing one's place in the military hierarchy. Word spread fast on a forward operating base. Within 20 minutes, half the personnel had found excuses to be near the firing range behind the wire. Even the mess hall cooks abandoned their posts to watch what everyone knew would either be career-ending humiliation or legendary vindication. 5 steel targets went out across the valley. 600 meters, 800 meters, 1,000 meters, 1,200 meters, and, because pride always overreaches, 1,500 meters. That final target flirted with the absolute edge of what the M24 could accomplish in those wind conditions. Victoria did what she always did. She didn't rush. She studied the mirage shimmering off the valley floor, read the wind flags dancing in the mountain air, calculated air density, temperature, and the angle to target. The M24 settled into her shoulder like an old friend returning home after a long deployment. First shot, 600 meters, center mass. A clean, confident ring echoed across the range like a church bell. Second shot, 800 meters. A crosswind caught the flag just as she squeezed the trigger, but the math had already been done in her head. Perfect hit. Third shot, 1,000 meters. The entire crowd held its breath. The steel target sang its metallic song of precision. Fourth shot, 1,200 meters. Through wind that would have pushed most bullets into the dirt. Not this one. Dead center. Fifth shot, 1,500 meters. Nearly 3 seconds of flight time. A small eternity where physics, weather, and human error can derail perfection. She let the valley speak to her, reading the invisible currents of air that only true marksmen understand. The trigger broke like crystal. 3 heartbeats passed, then the final plate rang like a victory bell across the mountain air. For a long minute, nobody moved. 43 hardened operators stood in absolute silence, witnessing something that would become base legend within the hour. Then, something unexpected happened. Major General Hayes, setting aside 30 years of assumptions and prejudices, brought his hand up in a crisp military salute. Not because regulations required it, but because respect demanded it. "Staff Sergeant Thompson," he said, his voice carrying across the silent range, "I apologize. I let prejudice override professional judgment. In 30 years of military service, I've never witnessed shooting like that. I formally request that you provide overwatch for this operation." 4 hours later, Operation Thunderstrike launched. Victoria's role was precise and critical. Eliminate 6 security positions in exact sequence, silently, without alerting the primary target group. One by one they fell. Guards who never heard death whisper their names through a scope. The task force closed in and captured all 6 high-value targets without a single friendly casualty. Her longest confirmed engagement that day threaded through a doorway barely 2 feet wide at 1,623 meters, a shot that required mathematical precision and nerves of surgical steel. Intelligence gathered from that valley prevented 3 planned attacks on coalition forces, potentially saving hundreds of American and Allied lives. Major General Hayes submitted Victoria for the Silver Star, not for the range demonstration, but for operational performance that exemplified the highest standards of military excellence. He returned to Washington different than he arrived, pushing policy changes grounded in performance rather than assumptions. 3 months later, Victoria received orders to Fort Bragg as the first female instructor at the Special Operations Target Interdiction course. Another barrier broken quietly, without fanfare, with no excuses, just results. Her grandfather Henry lived to see the ceremony, her Silver Star citation resting beside his old Vietnam medals on the nightstand where stories of precision and patience had been passed down through generations. He passed away 2 weeks later, whispering advice about wind that only she could hear. What do we take from that morning at FOB Thunder? That rank can open doors, but character and competence keep them open. That the battlefield doesn't care about assumptions, only about results that save lives and complete missions. Most importantly, we learn why soldiers like Staff Sergeant Victoria Viper Thompson matter in our military. Not because they're breaking barriers for publicity, but because they're proving that excellence has no gender, only standards that are either met with precision or missed with consequences.